I recently got my Mexican residency, and there is one thing I learned. Not all Mexican consulates are created equal. There are three main ways the 50+ consulates in the US operate very differently from each other. Number one, income and savings requirements to get the residency can vary by tens of thousands of dollars. Number two, getting an appointment can take between 1 week or 2 months. And number three, some consulates make getting approved a walk in the park, while others, well, not so much. So because many consulates accept out-of-area applications, you are free to choose the Mexican consulate that makes getting the residency easiest for you. And in this video, I'm going to help you find the best consulate to improve your chances of being approved and help you make your dream life in Mexico happen faster and with less stress. Let's talk about financial requirements. So to get started, consider this. The most common way to get either your temporary or permanent visa is through something called financial solvency. This is when you show that you are able to support your lifestyle in Mexico through either your savings and investments or your income. However, depending on the consulate that you visit, the amount that you have to present to prove financial solvency through savings and investments can vary by up to $20,000 when applying for your temporary visa, or up to $80,000 when applying for your permanent residency visa. And for income, the amount that you have to show per month for the temporary visa can vary by up to $1,000 depending on which consulate you go to, or by up to $2,000 when applying for the permanent residency visa. Those differences are huge, obviously, and can really affect whether or not you are even eligible to apply for a residency visa through financial solvency. And just a quick pro tip here, when you're applying for a permanent visa through income, that income basically means your pension and social security. Let me explain why these massive differences exist. So there are a couple of standard equations that the consulates use to come up with the amounts that you need to prove your financial solvency. For the solvency through savings and investments, the calculation is 5,000 times the daily Mexican minimum wage in pesos. And for income, the calculation is 300 times the daily Mexican minimum wage in pesos. That amount is then converted to US dollars to determine the amount needed to prove financial solvency. Keep in mind that the Mexican minimum wage is set at the beginning of each new year, and the current administration has promised to increase the minimum wage by 12% for the 6 years of this new administration. The first year just passed, so they did increase it by 12% in 2025. And what this means in theory is that the amount that you need to show to prove financial solvency could increase by 12%. That is in theory. In practice, it's kind of still TBD. So far for 2025, it's not looking like it has had a huge impact, but in general, it's good to just keep that in mind and consider applying sooner rather than later if you are thinking of moving to Mexico. So if there is an official calculation in place, why the huge discrepancies with the different consulates? Well, the exchange rate that the consulates use to get to that final amount is not defined anywhere, so an individual consulate can use the exchange rate from any point in time in the last year. It can be a low number or a high number. They can use like a blended average, or I've even seen some consulates use the exchange rate on the date of your appointment. So again, not defined anywhere. And in this past year, the Mexican currency has fluctuated a ton. So that explains the huge differences in what you need to prove for financial solvency. Let's give some examples of what this looks like for some of the specific consulates. So first of all, it's important to note that each consulate kind of has their own website and it can look very differently. But if we kind of get started by looking at Houston, we have some friends who applied through Houston, and let's kind of see where they're at for 2025. I have some notes on the screen because it's a lot to remember here. But in terms of the temporary visa, the requirement for financial solvency through savings and investments is about $73,000 and about $4,400 a month when proving solvency through income. And for the permanent visa, it is nearly $293,000 when applying through savings and investments, and $7,324 for retirement income. And in this case, you can scroll down here to see when it was updated. Super easy. So Houston is kind of on the higher side of the average for financial solvency when looking at all the different consulates across the US. But now we're going to look at one that's maybe a little bit more in the middle of the pack, and this one is a fan favorite for people applying from out of state. We're going to take a look at Las Vegas. So let's jump into their website and kind of see where their numbers are for 2025. And remember, like I said, the websites are different for each consulate, and they can also look very differently. But just know when you're on a website that ends in or has sre.gov.mx that you're in the right place. So for the financial requirements for getting the temporary visa in Las Vegas, it is $68,066 for savings and investments and $4,084 for monthly income. For the permanent residency visa, you're looking at $272,270 for savings and investments, or just over $6,800 for retirement income. As you can see already, some pretty meaningful differences, but just wait till this next one. You're going to be absolutely shocked. So when applying at Raleigh, North Carolina for your residency through financial solvency, the amount that you need to get your temporary residency through savings and investments is $51,800. That's a $21,000 difference from Houston. And when applying through income for the temporary, it's just $3,100 per month. That's a $1,300 difference with Houston. And for the permanent residency, the amount that you need to show for savings and investments is just over $207,000, which is more than an $80,000 difference with Houston. And for your income, it's $5,180 per month. So most of these differences or discrepancies between consulates aren't as kind of exaggerated or as big, but it's just really kind of important for you to know that there definitely are options, especially when keeping in mind that you are able to make out-of-area applications. So if you're kind of on the edge there, again, just know that you have options. So my tip for you is just research your local consulate and kind of see where they are in terms of the financial requirements. If you are able to meet those requirements, then obviously that is absolutely perfect. If you are unable to meet those requirements, then simply shop around. So to do the research for finding a different consulate, it all starts on Google. So just head to Google and I'll kind of walk you through this. So type in Mexican consulate in the city name that you're looking at. Click on the link and make sure you're on the government page by seeing again that URL ending in sre.mx.gov. And then typically what you'll click is Servicios para Extranjeros. So obviously that's in Spanish, and the website doesn't always automatically translate, but what that means is services for foreigners. Obviously, if you see services for foreigners, just click through that. And then from there, you'll kind of see a display of the different visa options available for foreigners. The temporary and the permanent will be there, and click on them, and then often you will see what is required for the application. Just remember that not all consulates have the financial requirements posted online. So a last resort is you can also email them. And just a quick note here, you may notice that my trusty partner Aimara is not here. She hasn't run off. She is very busy right now creating some ideas for future videos and also editing a lot of videos right now. Actually, she's editing at this very moment. So we have the goal of producing a ton of valuable content for you guys, and sometimes that simply means divide and conquer. And it feels very weird making my first video by myself, but here we are. I hope you guys are finding it useful.
I'm still around, but I'm editing, and I get to have the fancy office. Look at this. This chair is way better than mine. Now, back to the video. G for sure knows a lot about consulates.
This is just a general tip, but the different consulates out there, they also have different ways of kind of accepting appointments. So some of them require that you email them, some of them require that you send them a message through WhatsApp, or even call them through WhatsApp, and others use kind of this online booking platform called Mi Consulado. Remember that you really have to contact them the right way, the way that they prefer or require, otherwise you will get no response. So for a little bit of context, my appointment in Miami, I kept jumping onto Mi Consulado to make an appointment, and Miami does have a Mi Consulado platform. However, that's not the way that they accept appointments. So I wasted a ton of time until I went to their website, which you should also do, and I saw that they only accept applications through email. So don't waste your time this way. This is definitely spoken from experience. And note that if you do have to email them to make the appointment, make sure that it's the correct visa email address and not just the general consulate email address. But more importantly, even if you do contact a consulate correctly, there are different levels of responsiveness and also different levels of how quickly you can get an appointment. So many consulates out there, they obviously serve different kind of issues also with Mexican nationals living in the US, and they can be completely backed up. So it can feel nearly impossible to actually get an appointment or even get through to them. And when you finally do, you might actually get an appointment like 2 months out. So the process can be extremely frustrating and complicated. So while it's true that some consulates do kind of give you appointments 2 months out, others are way more responsive. You'll be able to get in touch with them, and they could even give you an appointment as soon as kind of 1 week into the future. So for my experience again in Miami, once I did email them the right way through the right channel, they got back to me within 24 hours and gave me an appointment kind of 3 weeks out into the future. And this was in December during the busy holiday months, also a very busy time for the consulate because a lot of people are trying to get in their residency application before those kind of unknown changes happen in the new year. However, while in Miami, I had a great experience there, just reading the different forums and reviews online, there are definitely consulates that you keep reading about that kind of make it difficult to make appointments. That are always kind of backed up, and when you do get an appointment, it can be way out into the future. Just to name a few names here that I keep reading about, we have places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, St. Paul, Minnesota, Dallas, and Seattle. So what I read is that these really struggle to give appointments in a timely manner. But obviously there is a flip side to that. There are more kind of customer service oriented consulates out there, thankfully. Some of those I will have to say Miami because I had a great experience there. Again, Las Vegas pops up a ton. Philadelphia is another one that you read about very frequently. And a lot of the smaller consulates in Texas are also known to be very customer service oriented. So like McAllen is one, Laredo, and I think also in Brownsville. So naming those is really just to state some examples. Remember, there are 50 plus Mexican consulates in the US, each kind of doing their own thing. But this issue of getting a quick response with your application or for your appointment really comes into play when you think you may have changes in your kind of like status in terms of presenting the financial solvency requirements. So for example, if you can kind of foresee that you might be losing some income in the near future, or if you have a big expense which might take down the amount that you have in savings and investments that you need to present to the consulate, then of course you will want to apply ASAP. And also when you're kind of getting into the new year, I kind of alluded to this too, you might also want to make a quick application because you don't know what changes the Mexican government is going to make that could affect your residency application. So I know that getting your residency can feel overwhelming, but trust me, as someone who just went through the process successfully, it can be pretty easy if you just take it one step at a time. And to help you guys do that, I created a free Mexican residency cheat sheet that will make getting your residency much less stressful. This 5-minute cheat sheet is super easy to digest, and it explains what to expect during each stage of the residency process. And most importantly, it'll keep you organized and steering away from mistakes that could cost you time and money. Just head to the link in the description or check out the first comment in the comment section to get your free copy of the cheat sheet and get closer to making Mexico your new home. Now, there's just one more thing we have to talk about. Okay, so we discussed the different financial requirements. We also talked about the different speeds of getting an appointment. But now let's talk about how the consulates differ and how easy it is to get approved for your residency. So at the end of the day, what we all want is to get approved for residency, but going to the wrong consulate can actually really change the likelihood of that actually happening. So just to be clear, if you do have all your kind of paperwork in order and you meet the requirements, then the chances that you do get approved for your residency are not exactly guaranteed, but they are high. The only caveat here is that the specifications from the consulates can be very specific. For instance, to prove solvency through savings and investments, a lot of the consulates will actually ask that you show your financial documents or statements with an official bank stamp or with a wet signature, or alternatively, if you're trying to apply through income, The consulates will also ask for a letter from your employer in the company letterhead that indicates basically that you are allowed to work in Mexico, and oftentimes that letter has to be signed with a wet signature. However, as is the theme with these consulates, the way they interpret these very specific requirements varies. So here's my experience in Miami. They asked for all my financial statements to come with an official bank stamp. I was able to get a sort of stamp from my investment statements. I wasn't able to get it for our online-only savings account. When they were reviewing the documents, they mentioned it was really good that I did have a stamp on our investment accounts, but at the same time, they accepted both for my financial solvency request, I guess. So I don't think they would have pushed back too hard if I didn't have any stamps. That said, I definitely do read about some consulates that do push back hard if everything is not exactly how they mention it. So Seattle and Raleigh are two that I read about frequently. So if possible, if you think you're going to face some issues to get the wet signatures or bank stamps on the documents that you need to show, definitely ask around in different forums that are out there, so on Facebook and on Reddit, and ask other people's experience at these consulates if possible, just to make sure that you're going in with all the stuff that you need. All that being said, based on my research, the consulates that really work with you to help you get approved include Las Vegas. Las Vegas is always there, Philadelphia, Orlando, also Washington, D.C., Fresno, California, and the little McAllen consulates in McAllen, Texas. So in summary, we just talked about how the consulates are different in terms of their financial solvency requirements, how easy it is to get an appointment, and how easy it is to get approved for your residency. But now you want a summary of some of those top consulates that do accept out-of-state applications and have pretty lenient financial requirements and make getting an appointment easy and also getting approved easy. So here are my top 5. So there's Las Vegas, Orlando, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and New Brunswick, New Jersey. Just remember that things can always change, so make sure that you check their website or even contact them if you have any doubts about whether or not they are still accepting out-of-state applications. So if you are serious about getting your Mexican residency and experiencing life here south of the border, do yourself a favor and simply don't assume that the consulate closest to you is the best one for getting your residency. Look, you just showed up.
Don't assume that. Pro tip from
Tip.
Mr. Consulate expert.
I'm the consulate guy.
How was it to film without him?
It's been a little bit exhausting filming by myself, but I hope that the information for you guys has been useful.
He knows a lot. It's been about
I've learned a lot.
2.5 hours. So did you tell him about the cheat sheet?
I have told them about the cheat sheet, but remember, it's in the description and the pinned comment. It is very useful. I put a lot of work into it to make the process of getting approved and all the appointment stuff as straightforward as possible.
It's actually great. I was just reviewing that, and it looks really good.
Okay.
So download it. And one more thing.
Yeah, so we're going live very soon to kind of talk about my experience at the actual appointment. So like what I presented, the interview, all of that, all with the idea of helping you guys get approved and moving down here to Mexico. So if you want me to address any topics, just leave those questions in the comments
Yes, leave
below.
the questions, and we don't know the date like right now, but I'll put it right here on the screen and the time, so make sure to show up live and we'll chat and all that fun stuff.
And if you miss the live, then we'll just post the video right here.
Exactly. Thanks for watching. Good job.
Gracias, amigos.
Oh.
Sweaty.
Yes.